Hi there, I'm Melanie Trailer from Southern Trim Quilts, and today I'm bringing back one of our most loved quilt patterns, the Fenvi Quilt Pattern. This one has been a long time favorite since I first released it back in 2023. I think it's easy to see why. This is beginner friendly and it has large, satisfying blocks. Perfect if you're looking for a quilt that makes a big visual impact without the tricky piecing. This is all snowballs, by the way. The Fenvi pattern comes in 4 sizes, from a small pillow all the way up to a queen or king size quilt. It's written for half yards, and the best part is you get to choose between 2 different styles inside the same pattern. The only difference between them is how the background and foreground fabrics swap places, so you can pick whichever version suits your mood or your fabric stash. Let's take a look at one of the Fenvi blocks and how it comes together. All right, so we are going to work on that corner unit first, and it's that 4 patch that's in each corner. It consists of 1 solid square, and then the other 3 blocks in the 4 patch are snowballs. Since parts of that snowball doesn't even get pieced, we're just going to set those 4 squares out. So if you're on version 1, you're taking out foreground, and if you're on version 2, you're taking out background, just like me. So we're just going to set those 4 squares to the side. And all the rest of these are going to be pieced with snowballs. All right, so we're putting all this stuff to the side, and we're grabbing our foreground. All right, and then you're going to draw your diagonal lines. It'll be foreground and background. All right, so this is how you do snowballs. Now, again, you may be looking at different background and foreground depending on what version you make. I'm just trying to keep it as simple as possible, and we're going to look at the number 1 right up under corner units, and we're drawing our diagonal lines. And what that looks like, I'm just using a basic pen, nothing special, and putting my ruler from corner to corner. I do want to make sure my line goes directly through each corner, and then we're just going to draw a line. And I'm going to continue doing that on all the pieces that it says on step 1. So I'll do it for all of these, and then I'll do it for all of these bigger squares. All right, so I've got my bigger squares with the line drawn, and I've got my tiny squares with the line drawn. And this is version 2, would look like this, foreground, background. If you are working on version 1, this would be reversed. This would be your foreground, and this would be your background. So, but we've done that, and that's where we're at. All right, so we're going to grab 8 of those middle-sized squares. 1, 2, there should be 8 here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we're going to grab that, not the tiniest size, obviously, but the next size up. And all of these pieces are going to go just like this. All right. And what we're making is these 2 pieces in the 4 patch. There is the 4 patch, and we're making these 2 pieces right here. If you're on version 1, there is the 4 patch, and we're making this and this piece here. All right. So let's take all of these to the sewing machine. All right, and we are going to sew directly on this line that we drew. You're sewing directly on the line. And then we're going to continue doing that for each of these. And we want to make sure, you know, that that diagonal line is clipping that corner. So it's going in this direction. And we're just going to send each of these through the sewing machine without breaking our thread. So this is chain piecing. I'm going to do that for all 8 of these. Okay, so once you got it, all 8 of them sewn, you're going to clip your thread, and then you're just going to cut the little threads that are connecting all of these. So you'll have this big, long chain piecing string going on, and we're just going to clip all of them apart. All right, so now we should have 8 pieces that look like this. We're going to take our iron, and we're just going to set these seams just like this. You're not moving it around, you're just dropping it on there and setting that seam. And this will help with most of your tension issues, but it just gives the seam a little set so that when we go and trim these corners off, we are getting, just better accuracy than if we skipped this step. All right, now we have to get all these corners cut free, and I'm gonna grab them one at a time. And I'm gonna line up the 1/4 inch line of my ruler. I'm going to line it up with my stitch line. So it is directly on those stitches. And then when I cut, it's going to cut a 1/4 inch away. So just like that. Just like that. And we're going to do that for each one of these snowball units. All right. We're going to take these one at a time just like this. And we're going to just slip our fingers in really gently. And we're going to push that seam flat. The worst thing you can do is to not get that seam all the way out because it will change the size of your unit. So you want to be careful here and you want to actually get that seam out. When you get it out, you're just going to press it. Now, snowballs are a little finicky, so don't be doing this number here. Do not do this. You will change the shape from square to a wonky type of shape. So just kind of do this. And we're going to do that for all of these. Once we have all 8 of them pressed like that, we're going to grab our starch and we're just going to hose it down. It's really just a mist. It's not really hosing it down, but you get the idea. And then we're going to press again until all that little starch spots dries. All right, you're going to have 8 units that look just like this, regardless of whether you're working on version 1 or version 2. There are 8 of these. The background and foreground will just be reversed depending on the version. All right, we're going to put these with those 4 solid squares that we set aside earlier. All right, so now we're going to be working on this part of that 4-patch. And when I say 4-patch, again, I'm talking about these corner units. 4-patch, 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 4-patch. Same thing on version 1, 4-patch, 4-patch. You get it. We're working on this unit, and this unit has 2 corners snowballed. So let's get the pieces for those units. There should be 4 of these, and then you're using all of those tiny squares that you set aside, per block. And we're going to go to the sewing machine. All right, so this is what we're going to be doing. This little number right there. And we're only going to do one at a time, though. So I'm going to just put this one to the side and make sure that I got this corner lined up properly. And then send it through. And again, we are sewing right on that line we have drawn. And we're going to do that for all of the units. All right, let's cut them apart. All right, and now we'll flip them around and we're going to put the corner on that opposite side, just like this. Clip these threads that connect them. All right, and you're going to have 4 units that look like this. Right, and again, before we cut those corners, we're going to just set these seams real fast. Doing the same thing on this one. It's just smaller, and we're doing both corners. So I'm lining up my 1/4 inch line of my ruler directly on my stitch line and cutting that corner. Then I'll rotate to the other side. I'm going to do the same thing with this side. So we'll end up with a piece that looks like this. And press these one corner at a time, but definitely do what you want to do, the way you prefer it. But I'm just going to do the same thing, push these corners out all the way and press. And I'm just going to do one side of each of these units. All right, and these are so tiny, you might have trouble with them staying. Like, see how they want to flip back? But the starch will take care of it. All right, and then we're going to press. All right, flip these to the other way, and then we're going to do this other corner. All right, so there will be 4 units that look like this. And you can see that they can go in different, we're going to be turning them, all over the place. But this is kind of the way they end up looking. Like that. Okay, so 4 units that look like this. If you're working on version 1, this will be background, this will be foreground. Okay, so now we are ready to grab those other pieces and we're going to put our 4 patches together. You're going to have this and then this, and then that solid square. All right, and you're going to have 4 units that are going to look like this. But we'll just do them one at a time. All right, and we're going to go sew this row together and then this row together. All right, we're going to set these seams. So that means just giving them a little press. This will just make our precision easier to obtain. And then we've got something that looks like this. All right, so this top unit is going to press to the solid block, just like this. And that means that my seam is going that way. This seam is going to go this way. So it looks just like this. So again, in case you missed that, I've got this seam pointing this way, and I've got this seam pointing that way. And that will help these nest up and get me precision. And now we're ready to take this piece and we're going to just flip it down on top of this other one. And then right here, we want to get these seams nested. And this will just help us with our precision, but you can feel with your forefinger and your thumb, you can feel those 2 pieces of the unit just kind of fitting snug. I like to call it bumping up and kissing because that's kind of what they do, just bump up and kiss. We will take a pin and we're going to put that pin directly in our stitch line, just like that. And I'm going to go ahead and pin it on this end and pin this end. So just like that, and then I'm going to sew right across here. Okay, all sewn. We'll give this a press to set that seam. And we're going to open this seam up. So it's going to go like this. We're going to slip our finger into it and open it, and then we're going to press it open. And remember to press and not iron. So I'm going up and down with my iron down the length of this. When I got it opened, flip it back over, give it some starch, press again. All right, and this is what it should look like. And here's all those other pieces because I need 4 of these. So I'm going to finish making the rest of these 4 on my own time and then show it to you when I've got it done. Okay, at this point, you'll have 4 units. These 4 patches that look just like this. And again, if you're working on version 1, this will be foreground, this will be background. All right, but they look just like that. And we're going to put these aside and start our middle unit. All right, so middle units is the very top left of the page. Page 6 if you're on version 1, page 10 if you're on version 2. And the middle units use those long skinny pieces that look like this, and it uses background. All right, so basically everything we got left except for that very center square. So center square is the only piece is not in action right now. And what we're going to do with these is we're going to do something like this. Now, if you're looking at your pattern at the top of those pages on the right-hand corner, it shows you what the block ends up looking like. And what you can see is that you end up with 2 pieces here, right? And these, and of course they've got their units like that and like that, but they're mirror images. So we need to be really, really careful. We're going to work on these one at a time, so to not get confused. So go ahead and pull 4 of these skinny units and put the other 4 to the side, and we'll work on those in a minute. Again, if you try to do it at the same time, even though they're really, really similar, they are mirror images, and you will, or at least I always do, get really, really confused when we start working with mirror images. So I'm putting 4 to the side, and we're going to work on that first side. And with these, we're going to go ahead and draw our lines. We've got to do that. So let me sit here and draw all my lines on those leftover squares. And then I need to show you one more tiny little difference about version 1 and version 2. All right. So version 1 has foreground as the bottom star points of that middle unit. So you're looking right there. Version 1 has foreground as the star points. So background up here, foreground down here. But on version 2, it's background up here and background down here. So background for version 2 on both ends, but a mix on version 1. So kind of make sure, or not kind of, make sure that you are really looking at those diagrams in the pattern, and you're looking at the colors that you're supposed to be using. All right, so now that we've got all of these line drawn, we're going to grab our 4 of these and we're going to go to the sewing machine. All right, here we go. And I've brought my pattern with me because, again, if I'm not constantly looking at these diagrams, I'm going to get myself mixed up. It's just, that's what's going to happen. So rather than seam rip or have to cut more fabric because I've really messed up, I'd rather just get it right the first time. So I'm taking those smaller squares, put them on my right side, and I've got my long rectangles on my left side. And then we are just going to do 4 of these, just like this. So we're going to do one side at a time. And if you'll notice, these corners go directly into it this time. So before we were, cutting the corner off, and we're still doing that, this time they fit snug. So you should have your diagonal line going directly into that corner. All right, so for every one of these, we're going to have it looking just like this. And again, I don't mean to stay on this way too long, but this is where the mistakes get made. So so if I do it this way, I'm in trouble. All right. So here we go. And we're going to chain piece these and make it move a little bit quicker. Grab the next set. And again, I'm double checking every time that I've got these squares with the drawn line in the right direction and I'm sewing in the right place. I'm going to cut their little connecting threads and then boom. Now I'm just going to leave them like this. I'm leaving them exactly the way they are in the diagrams of the pattern, just to keep myself again from getting confused. And this time we're staying in the same direction as far as our drawn line. So it's going to look just like this. All right, and now we're going to sew again on the drawn line. They're all 4 sewn just like this, and we're going to go to the pressing mat. All right, I'm just going to give these a quick press to set their seams like we've been doing. All right, and like all snowball units, we're cutting that corner. So line up the 1/4 inch line of our ruler with the stitch line that we just made. So we're going to cut those corners off, and we're going to do that on both sides. Right, and we're going to have units that look just like that. So I'm going to do that for the rest of these, and there's 4 of them. Right, and just because I didn't say this while we were at the sewing machine, again, if you're working on version 1, this is background and then this was foreground. So I don't think I stressed that quite enough, but I'm sure you get it. All right, so just as always, we're going to do one side at a time. I like to do these like this. Push out that corner gently and press. We're going to give them a spray of starch and press again. All right, we're going to flip these over and do the opposite side. So now we have a unit that looks like this. And this is 1/2 of that middle unit. Again, if you're working on version 1, your colors are in a different place. All right, so let's go make the other half. All right, so we're going to grab those other 4 rectangles that are left, and we're going to grab all of our drawn line squares that are left. And we're going to go this on. Now, watch where you're looking at on that pattern and make sure you're looking at the opposite side that we were looking at. And they're like right on top of each other. This is a beginner pattern, but I feel like it's got several places that could just trip you up. This time, we're putting these squares on the mirror image that we did last time. So they're going to look just like that. I'm going to send each one of these through the sewing machine. All right, all sewn, and then clip those threads to disconnect them. All right, now step 2. We are putting this square like that, right? Make sure you got it snug in the corners. And then we're going to sew right on that diagonal line. And double check yourself, because the drawn line is going into a corner, and it's actually the same direction as the top, right? Those diagonal lines are in the same direction. All right, so here we go. Got 4 units now that look like this. And we're gonna set our seams. All right, and again, if you are making version 1, this was your background, this was fabric A, and this was fabric B. So just watch out for that. And then same thing as before, we're just cutting these corners off. You already know how to do this at this point. So just get both sides cut just like that. I just want to, all right, I know you've got a handle on these snowball units at this point, so I'm not going to go into more instruction about them. You know how to do them. Right, so I've got these pressed. They should look like this. And we're going to grab those other parts of our middle units, and you can see these just kind of go just like that. So if you are working on version 1, this was background, this was color A, and this was color B. Both versions, we're putting them together just like this, and we're going to go sew straight across that for all 4 units. All right, so now we have 4 units that look like this. We're going to set those seams, and then we're going to press these seams open. So open it up with our little finger, slip it inside, and then press it open. Just tapping and moving down the length of that seam. When I got it open, turn it this way, and then I'm going to put some starch and then press again. And I'm going to do that for every one of these units. So let me do that. All right, so the center is going to go just like this. And those middle units are going to go like this. I'm not going to be able to put this completely on the screen, but you're going to get the idea. Come like just like this. Okay. Double check that you have these turned in the right direction. These are making your star points. So that wrong. This right. Double check it now, because I promise you'll be mad at yourself if you don't check it now. So I've got all star points connecting to my center square. All right. Then we're grabbing our corner units, and they're going to go just like this. This block is massive. All right. So just like that. All right. Things to note, that the corner units are all pointing this way. This, wrong. So double check it for all 4 places, because sometimes I have made these blocks and gotten one wrong and all the other 3 right. So I'm double checking, my eyeballs are falling to each block and making sure they're pointing in this way. And then these middle units have star points created with my center square. These are those star points. This is version 2. If you're making version 1, this was B fabric. These were B fabric. This is background, and then this is fabric A. All right, so a little different look. I'm gonna pop a picture of the fabric A square on the screen now, just so you can double check yourself, and you just want to double check and make sure that you do indeed have everything turned the right way. Once you have it turned the right way and you're 100% sure of yourself, go ahead and sew this row together, and then this row together. All right, I've got my rows, row 1, row 2, row 3, so bottom to top. And I'm going to take the bottom row, right? And I'm just going to kind of do this little number right here, where that I make sure that these seams are both pointing this way. I'm going to open it up like that. And then I just want to make sure that that seam is going in the right direction. So this seam goes this way, just like that. And then this seam is going this way. And we're just going to alternate these seams this way, just so that we can nest the seams of when we sew our rows together. All right, so just like that. The middle row is going to do the opposite. So we're going to press these seams toward this center square. So push the seam that way, press, and then push this seam this way, press. All right, and then the top row, we're going to do exactly the same way we did the bottom row. I like doing it just like that. I feel like it makes my seams get in the right direction a little bit easier. So this one's going this way. All right, let's put this top one up here. And then make sure, this is our last opportunity to make sure that we've got this block with all the pieces going in the right direction. Don't give yourself a hard time if you do have something going in the wrong direction. Go ahead and fix it now, because it just gets harder and harder the closer we get to done, right? All right, so we're going to take middle row and we're going to flip it down on top of bottom row. And then this seam right here should nest up just like we did earlier. Make sure it nests, they bump up and kiss, and when they do, we put a pin directly in that seam. This seam here should do the exact same thing. It's going to bump up and kiss. I'll put a pin. And then I like to take the ends and make them meet and pin down here. And I also want to make sure that they're meeting right here. So I'm going to put another pin just right there. I'm going to do the same thing for this other side. Do the ends first. Make sure they meet up. And then this part right here, I'm just going to put a pin in it. All right, I'm going to sew this together now. Okay, all sewn up. We're going to set this seam just like we always do, just to make sure it's nice and warm and in the right place. All right, then we're going to press these cross seams open, just like we've been doing. All cross seams get pressed open for flatter, more precise blocks. Those are my rules. It's okay if you don't care about this kind of thing as much as me. Be yourself, do it the way you want to do it. All is fine. You only have yourself to impress. All right. Uh-oh.
Okay.
I feel like I am like anal retentive about these seams, but it matters to me, so I follow my little rules. All right. Come on. Lots of seams in this one to watch out for. All right, flip it back over. All right. And I'm going to give this some starch right down across that seam and press again. All right, I feel like I didn't quite get that middle part pressed open good enough, but good enough, I guess. All right, we're going to do the same thing with the top row. We're going to flip it down right on top of this other part. I'm going to get my seams in the middle here nested up first. All right. And then I'm going to do my ends. And then I'm going to get right here where these little seams meet. Okay, same thing. We're going to sew right across here. We're almost done. I love getting started seeing these blocks. When you see your first block, then it just starts getting so much better. All right, we're setting this seam, and we're going to flip it upside down or right side down and press this cross seam open just like we've been doing. Flip it back over. Spray our starch. I'm doing it, down the length of that seam. All right. If you'd like to make your own Fenvi quilt, here's everything you'll need. The pattern includes a full supply list for both the pillow and the quilt, and all the fabric measurements are laid out for each size. And if you'd rather skip the fabric pulling part, we've got Fenvi quilt kits available too. You can find those along with the pattern itself at meanderanmake.com.
Whether you're brand new to quilting or just ready for something pretty and relaxing, the Fenvi quilt pattern is one that'll make you fall in love with sewing all over again. You can grab your pattern and kits today at meanderandmake.com or visit my website, southerncharmquilts.com, for more inspiration.